Okay, so let's go ahead and go over these. So number one, it's asking you, are these two expressions, well, let me say that again. Is 8 times 6 times 9 less than, greater than, or equal to 8 times 6 times 9? Charlie?
Equivalent.
They're equivalent, equal. Why? How's that possible?
Because there's 8 times 6 and there's 6 times 9, and they're put in a different order. They're just put in a different order.
Good. So Charlie makes a good point. When it's multiplying, it doesn't matter the order that these things are in. Multiplying three numbers together is always going to give you the same thing. So we could do this and work it out. What's 8 times 6? 48. And then we would multiply by 9. Did anybody do that?
Yeah.
432? Okay, so we could do this multiplication out. And then what about this? You would do 6 times 9 first, which is 54 multiplied by 8, which is 432. So we could work it out and show that they are equal, but we also know that when we multiply three things together, it's always equal, right? Or 4. If you're multiplying numbers, doesn't matter the order you multiply, it's always going to come out to the same answer, unless you do a step wrong. But you should get the same answer every single time. For number 2, we're finding the mode. What do I need to do to find the mode?
You have to find
That's the range. The most. The number that happens the most. So we can put them in order from least to greatest, but I don't think it's necessary. What number happens the most in our data? 26. So we have 2 26s. Is there anything else that happens more than twice? Nope. So our mode is 26. It's the number that you see the most, right? Mode is the most. The next ones. I told you that you had a big piece of wood as a triangle. 57 feet as the base, 36 feet is the height. What's the area formula to find the area of a triangle? What do you do? Base times height. Base times height divided by 2. Good. So our base is what? 57 times our height, which is 36. And then when we're done with that, divide by 2. What did you guys get when you did 57 times 36?
1,026.
That's your final answer. What did you get when you did 57 times 36? Close. Because you're just a little bit off on me. So we need to do 57 times 36 first, right? So let's work it out. What is 6 times 7? 42. So 2, carry your 4. What is 6 times 5? 30 plus 4? 30 plus 4? 34. What do I have to put here under my 2?
0.
Our placeholder is 0. What is 3 times 7?
21.
21, carry your 2. What is 3 times 5? 15 plus 2? 17. We add and get 2. 5. 0. Good. So when we multiply, we get 2,056. But we still have to divide by 2. That's the one part that a lot of people forget, the dividing by 2. So let's do that. 2,056 divided by 2. Does 2 go into 2?
Yeah.
One time. Subtracting get 0. Drop down your other 0. Does 2 go into 0?
No.
No. So what do I have to put up here?
0.
Another 0. Good. Subtract. Get 0 again. Bring down your 5. Does 2 go into 5? How many times? Twice. We get 4. Subtracting get 1. And then we can drop down our 6. Does 2 go into 16?
Yeah.
How many times?
8.
8 times. And it goes in evenly. So when we do the dividing by 2, what's our area of the triangle? 1,028. What are my units? Feet. One little part that we're missing. Squared. Don't forget the squared. Feet squared or square feet, right? That's kind of a long one. But The biggest thing that people forget is just the dividing by 2. Don't forget the dividing by 2 at the end of there, right? Charlie?
I mixed up the 6 and turned it into a 2.
Oh. So you were close?
Yeah.
That's good.
Because I got 1,026.
Ah. Yep, you were close. All right. Number 4, we're finding the area of this rectangle, finding this space right here, right? How do I do that? How do I find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. I think you were talking about perimeter. So area is just multiplying one side by the other side. So we're going to take 24, multiply it by 5. I'm going to put the 5 down here, though. And let's work it out. What's 5 times 4? 20, carry 2. What is 5 times 2? 10 plus 2? 12. What's the area of this rectangle? 120. What are the units? Centimeters squared. Good. So there's our warm-up for the day. A little bit of practice on things that you'll probably see coming up on your AZM2. Don't like that they renamed it. Throws me off. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some practice. So today is a little bit of just today is a lot of just work stuff. Finishing the things that you might be missing, plus the assignment that I give you today. So let's go ahead and head over to Google Classroom. I think I'm going to need to make the assignment post. I don't think it's up yet. So let me get that posted for you guys. We're going to do a couple of them together on the assignment. And then I'm going to have you guys work on the rest on your own. Yeah.
It was called Arizona Merit.
Well, it used to be called the AZ Merit. Now it's called the AZM2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It was called Arizona Merit.
Yeah. All right. So that assignment should be posted. It's called Writing Equations from Tables Practice. Okay. There's 12 problems on here. We'll do 4 together. So you guys will have 8 to do on your own. Okay. So let's open up those slides, please. So slide number 1 is the instructions. 2, 3, and 4 are where the problems are. And slide number 5 is where you put your answers on this one. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is look at the tables, figure out what the equation is that goes with the table. It's kind of what we ended doing yesterday, right? Like I said, this is not always easy. So take your time on these. If you really can't get it, give me a shout or do your best on it. Okay. So let's look at slide number 2 and start with number 1. I'm going to write them on the board behind me so that we can talk through them and do some guessing and checking when we do it. Okay, so our first one, let me zoom in a little bit. So number 1, we have X and Y. 0, 9, 5, 14, and 11, and 20. So remember, we need to figure out how we go from the X number and get to the Y. So what is one way that we can go from 0 to 9? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. What can we do? Add how many?
9.
We can add 9. 0 plus 9 is 9. Let's check to see if that works for the other one. Does 5 plus 9 equal 14? Yeah, so we can add 9 and that works for that. What about 11 plus 9? Does that equal 20? There we go. That's our rule. We're adding 9. So how do I write that as an equation? What do I do? This is the tricky part. We know that we need to add 9. But how?
X plus 9.
X plus 9. You take whatever X is and you add 9. The only other thing you need to add is it. y equals that, because whatever you get for your answer here is what y is. That's our answer for number 1. Y equals x plus 9. So no matter what we plug in for x, we could plug in 831, and we could add 9 and get 840. Still works. Still is the rule. You just have a much bigger number. So this is our answer for number 1. Y equals x plus 9. So we need to go write that down on number 1 in our slides. So on slide number 5, type text here. This is where you put your answers. Y equals x plus 9. That's all I need to see, whatever the equation is that you got. Okay? I'll give you a second to get that typed down. All right. If I remember correctly, number 2 is a little bit harder. So let's look at number 2. Let me write down our table here. X's and Y's. So our first one is 1, 2. 5, 18. And 10, 38. So let's start with the easiest one, which is addition or subtraction. How can we go from 1 to 2? What should we do? We could add 1. Add 1 or multiply by 2. Good, Charlie. So those are 2 things we could do. Let's see if adding 1 works for this. Does 5 plus 1 equal 18?
No.
No. Does 10 plus 1 equal 38?
No.
No. So it can't be adding 1. That doesn't work for us, right? What about multiplying by 2? Is 5 times 2 18?
No.
No. 10 times 2 38?
No.
No, so it's not multiplying by 2. So when that happens, that means that we're going to do some sort of multiplication. So some number times x plus or minus another number. Okay, so it's a 2-step equation, not just 1 step. 2 steps this time. I'm going to give you a hint on this one. Part of it is going to be, we're going to multiply something by x. So we need to find this number. And then you're going to be subtracting 2 at the end. So think about that for a minute. Hang on. Think about it. See what you multiplied by x. And then subtract 2 to get your answers here. Take about 1 minute to think about that one. Try some numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Put something in there. Hang on. I need a drink of water. Give me a second. Okay. Charlie, you think you got it?
Uh-huh.
What do you think it is?
Times 2.
Times 2? You think we put a 2 right here?
Mm-hmm.
So let's check that.
4. I meant to say 4.
Oh, okay, 4.
I'm kind of asleep.
Okay, so Charlie thinks we put a 4 here. So we multiply our x value by 4 and then subtract 2. So let's try it. What's 1 times 4?
4.
4 minus 2?
2.
2, so it checks out for this one. Okay, what about this one? What's 5 times 4? 20 minus 2?
18.
18, it works for that one. What about this last one? 4 times 10? 40 minus 2?
38.
38, it works for all of them. What's our equation here? Y. Y equals 4 times x minus 2, right? The way that they say it, the quick way to say it is just 4x minus 2. That means multiply by 4, subtract 2. So let's go type that on our thing. That one was one of the harder ones that are on here. The rest of them I don't think are too much harder than that, hopefully. There's a couple that are difficult. I lied. Do your best on these, for sure. So y equals 4x minus 2. Remember, when you see 4 and x close to each other, it's multiplying, right? 4 times x. That's the one thing that a lot of people forget as well. 4 times x.
But what is x?
X is whatever you decide to put in. Remember, it's a variable. You can change it. You can put whatever number you want in there. It just represents some random number. Sometimes you're given a value to put in for X. Sometimes you have to make them up on your own. It depends on the situation. Okay. Ready for the next one? All right, number 3. Let's look at that one. Let me write down some things. Whoa. X's and Y's. X, Y, 0, 0, 9 and 27, 30, and 90. Okay, so here is our table for this one. Let's look at the first one. Usually when it's 0 and 0, it doesn't help you very much. I'm not going to lie.
I know it's multiplication.
Why do you think it's multiplication?
Because 0 times anything equals 0.
Because 0 times anything equals 0. That's a good thing to know. So we think we're going to multiply. Because if we add 0 plus 0, so if we say that we're adding 0, does that work for any of the other ones? No. So we're not adding or subtracting anything. We are going to be multiplying. We just have to figure out by what. 9 times what gives you 27?
3.
3. So it looks like we might be multiplying by 3. What about this? 30 times 3, does that give you 90?
Yeah.
It does. When you multiply it by 3, you get 0, 90. And 0 times 3, is that 0?
Yeah.
So what's our rule here?
Times 3.
Times 3. So you guys put that all together. We have y equals, how do I write multiplying by 3?
3 times.
You're close. 3. What goes here? X. 3x, because that means we're going to multiply by whatever we decide we want to put in for x. Does it get easier as we go along? A little bit? Good. So let's put our answer here on that one. We're on number 3. Y equals 3x. Oh, cool. All right. We'll do one more together, and then we'll see what you guys can try on your own. All right, I'm going to go look at our last one. Okay, this is a fun one. Not really. So 10, 15, and then we've got 15, 22 and a half. We have a decimal thrown in here. That doesn't make it very fun. 20 and 30. So now we need to figure out how we're getting to these numbers. Let's start with adding and subtracting. How do I go from 10 to 15? Add how many? 5. Does that work for this? 15 plus 5? No, that doesn't give you 22.5. What about 20 plus 5? No, so we're not adding. Okay. How else can we go from 10 to 15? Multiply by 2. And then subtract 5. Let's try it. So we multiply by 2, we get 20. Minus 5 is 15. Works for that one, right? What about this one? What's 15 times 2? 30 minus 5. Does that give you 22.5? No. What about this one? 20 times 2 is 40 minus 5 would be 35. So it's not that one, but you're on the right track. I'll give you my hint here. This one we're only doing multiplication on. We just have to figure out what we're multiplying by. And it's probably a decimal. I'll give you that hint as well. We're still multiplying on this. There's no adding or subtracting at all. You're close. 0.5 would cut it in half. This one, how do I explain this? If you multiply it by 1, you get 10, right? If you multiply it by 2, you get 20. How would I get in the middle of that?
0.5.
Not 0.5. What's in between 1 and 2?
3.
In between 1 and 2.
A half.
What half? 1.5.
1.5.
You guys are saying 0.5. That's different than 1.5. Yeah. If we multiply by 1.5, right? 10 times 1. Why did I write it like that? Well, 10 times 1.5 gives you 15 when you do all that work. If you do 15 times 1.5, you'll end up with 22.5. You're adding, or you're multiplying by 1.5. So not quite 2.
Because if it was 0.5, it would be 5.
Yeah, if you multiply by 1/2, it would cut everything in half, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's getting a little bit bigger, not by 2, but by 1.5. So how would I write that I'm multiplying by 1.5? How do I do that? Y equals 1.5 x multiplying by x. Good. So there's our answer to number 4. So y equals 1.5. I can't type 5x. There we go. So there's our 1 through 4 done. I would like you guys to do 5 through 12 on your own. So that's 8 problems. Do your best. If you're wrong, it's okay. We're going to work on this next week as well. Before you guys get too far into it, this is the to-do list for this week. These are the things that I'm grading over the weekend, right? Let me zoom out a little bit. It looks like a lot, but a lot of it was done last week. So from this week, we did independent and dependent variable practice on Tuesday. So make sure you have that done. And then right now you are working on this, writing equations from tables. So that would be today's work. And then from last week, if you have not finished these ones, you maybe need to check PowerSchool to see what you have zeros in. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 are graded ones. They'll be in PowerSchool. 6 and 7, the spiral reviews, are not, but they still need to be done so I can see what you need to work on and practice before the AZ merit. Okay? So this is kind of your to-do list. I would just go in this order. Start with number 1, finish what we just started. So do numbers 5 through 12 on that assignment I just assigned you. And then go back down the list of assignments and see if there's any other ones you need to work on. But that is what we are doing for the rest of class. Got about a half hour of work time right now. So I'll let you guys get to work. I'll put on a little bit of music. Let me know if you guys need anything.